Welcome to Her Incredible Mind, where we are highlighting some of the most successful women in science, technology, engineering, and math. These women are inspirational leaders, showing resilience in the face of adversity. By sharing these success stories, we hope to gain insight, inspire, and help guide those who are struggling on their journey within this industry. Hopefully, their stories will inspire you or someone you know to pursue a career in STEAM. Today, we meet with Pamela Wheelwright from Blue Prism. So, Pamela, let's chat today about your role. What is it exactly that you do? And tell us about the company and industry you work in.
Sure. Thanks, Kate. So I am a sales director at Blue Prism. Blue Prism is the leader and founder of what's called robotic process automation. And a lot of people think of robotics as, a robot that you see lifting things, doing things. This is actually software. So they're digital workers that work alongside human workers. Again, it is software. So it's that simple, but that is the industry that I'm working in.
That's great. How did you decide on this role?
This particular role, oh boy. Well, with Blue Prism or just sales in general?
Just in general.
I actually started off when I was at the University of Massachusetts in Boston. I got an internship. I was, very, very fortunate to have an internship at Disney, Walt Disney World. And at the time, I was studying to become a teacher. And the program that I was accepted for was to teach science and nature to fourth graders out in the back lot behind Magic Kingdom and then give them a tour of the Magic Kingdom. And the program completely changed. And right before I was to head down to Florida, I was informed that they were changing the program. If I wanted an internship with Disney, which also meant a job for the next, 4 or 5 months, and credits, of course, towards your degree, that I needed to make some changes. So I actually ended up in sales at Disney. I had to live and work with people from different countries and attend what's Disney Institute University. And from that point on, I really found that I liked learning about people. I liked solving problems. And I ended up after that sticking with sales. I don't think anyone goes to college thinking that they're going to be in sales. But from there, I got into technology, first hardware, then software. And I absolutely love it. I just love it. That's how I ended up actually in the technical realm, if you will. And I started off at Oracle, which is a relational database company provider. From there, I worked at different channels. I worked at Microsoft. I went to Gartner, which is an analytical and research firm. I actually became a senior director of research and analytics and learned an awful lot around cloud technology, digital technology. I worked for an organization that offered change management, which addressed many things around digital transformation. And I was actually speaking to Blue Prism about our organizations becoming partners. And that's how I ended up at Blue Prism.
That's interesting. I love how you had the journey, obviously, starting at one of my favorite places in the world, but
Disney.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. And they're a great organization to start it. And their internship program is probably one of the most valuable for most people that
absolutely.
have been, lucky enough to experience it. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Sure.
So what matters to you most when you think about a role?
Well, I think being fulfilled, right? So there's a passion in what I do. It goes back actually to the educational journey I started to become a teacher, and that I'm trying to understand and learn what organizations and people at those organizations are trying to accomplish, whether it's improve operational efficiencies, improve a customer journey. I take all of that and then I share knowledge of what I can offer, what I know, and I bring different experts to the table. And that's the approach I take. And it's very much what we would call a trusted advisor. You build a relationship you be transparent, you're open, in your conversations, your communication. There's no hidden agenda. Sometimes they're going to go for the technology that you're able to offer, sometimes they're not. But in every scenario, you learn something. And I truly love looking at what the challenge is. What is their pain? What is the issue? And talking in a collaborative manner with all these different subject matter experts, learning from them and taking different perspectives and figuring things out together. Because when you come to the table and there is a challenge and you talk about possible solutions and scenarios and you test things, some things work, some things don't. But at the end, when you get to that objective or goal, which is to, maybe with a call center, you don't want that on hold time to be as long. When you see how that impacts things, right? When you want, in healthcare, you want client information to be protected, and you see that now you've secured it. Things like this with the whole COVID-19 and pandemic, if it weren't for things like quad computing, which can go so fast, and robotic process automation, this software, we never could have gotten a vaccine out to market as quickly as we did. So when you see how that impacts people, not businesses, but people, that is absolutely what I love. What I look for in that journey is fulfillment and passion and helping others. And then it doesn't feel like work.
It's interesting. I think that this year obviously is definitely something where all of our careers have been impacted by, obviously not just not just our careers, everything in our lives have been impacted by COVID. It's one of those things where a challenge like this requires everyone to think differently, and it sounds like you just continued on and knew what you needed to do, and you were successful in that, and that's I think the tenacity in that is something that it shows that you really want to do well, and you want to be with a company that does well, and that's interesting in most roles. I think that a lot of people really get into working for a company that has that kind of culture that you feel like, wow, I want to really work here. This is great.
It's true. It's true. And you mentioned culture. You mentioned journey. I have found that every step of the way, from the things that I learned at Disney, I learned when working even in the park, that if someone asks a question, we would get questions. You go and you get the answer. It's okay to say I don't have it, but hang on a second, I'm going to go get it. What's Cinderella's last name, right? I had no idea what Cinderella's last name was, but I found out it's Tremaine, Cinderella Tremaine. Next time somebody asks, I have that answer to offer. And it's okay to go to different people for answers. I learned to be very comfortable to say, geez, I don't know, but I'll learn. Or let's get someone else in who can fill us in and find out what they know about this. And the culture is a healthy culture. I've had friends and colleagues who've worked in cultures that are just not positive, and if you're not happy with what you're doing and you don't feel, appreciated, or there's no room for growth, or, again, fulfilled, right? Then move on. And it's okay to go outside of, if you've got 5-10 years in a particular area and it's still not working for you, try a different area. There's nothing that says that you can't, because you're still bringing some new perspective to the table. And don't minimize or belittle what that perspective is. And I have learned that through so many mentors and so many opportunities. And a lot of times I've learned more from failures than I have successes. Successes, I know what I'm doing well. Failures, well, that's where you have to work on things.
Yeah, it's interesting because the next question we normally ask is, how did you decide on your career, and did you change your path? And I think for you, you really were one of those people that knew that what you wanted to do, and that you knew the culture that you wanted. Obviously, Disney is a hallmark of culture, right? I mean, there's nothing that they don't do at the top level.
Right.
So did you ever decide to change your career?
I I mean, there were different times when I was on a journey and I thought I was going to go in one direction and I went into another, right? So each experience I had led me to this point. So of course I never could have started it even when I get into technology. I never could have started and said, "Oh, I'll be on a robotic product, robotic process automation journey," because that didn't exist, right? I was working, even when I was just coming out of college, I was working with chipsets and touchscreen technology. So, you know, it was new at the time, and I did love exploring different things. I was always drawn to what is that, how does it work, and not afraid to take things apart. I'm not a techie, I'm not an engineer, but I work with them and I absorb as much as I possibly can, because that's what gets me excited, right? That's what takes me from, having the same day every day, groundhog day, to this is new, this is a different challenge, this is a different approach that we're going to try and we're going to take, and to not be afraid of, one, asking questions, like I absolutely was when I was in school, right, in elementary, junior high, and high school, because at that age you're often afraid of, is this going to be a silly question, right? Am I going to appear not a smart person? There is no such thing as a silly question, right? It's the ones that aren't asked a lot of times that are silly. And because everyone else is probably thinking the same thing, they just weren't brave enough to raise their hand. And so I got very comfortable raising my hand and asking questions. And that was the only way that I could learn. But to say that I had in my head I was going to end up here, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I just followed what looked really fun and interesting to me, but I put as much into it as I can to learn and be the best at whatever it was, in that particular space. Be it, object oriented database technology, to, as I said, everything from digital transformation. And digital transformation is different to every person you talk to, right? That could be
Mhm.
cloud technology, it could be artificial intelligence, it could be big data. So even all that, it's a journey that I just love being open to expanding and learning more.
So when you think about your career, what do you think would be one of the major obstacles in your career?
Oof. I think the biggest obstacle that, even I would say a lot of people, but probably most women are faced with, is ourselves. I think that we aren't always comfortable asking for things. I think that inherently we're often trying to take care of everyone else, and sometimes that means we put ourselves last. And so I saw colleagues early in my career, my male counterparts, asking for a position or a raise or a role or a project to be on. And I didn't see as many women doing that. And I look at where my male counterparts are, and a lot of them are, executive level. And I think, oh, sure, some of it is, were the opportunities there? But then the other thing is, did I not create those opportunities? Did I wait for them to come to me? And I think, that was probably one thing that has impacted my own journey is, let's not wait for it. Let's make it happen. Let's do it. Let's ask for it. And if it, whatever it is, isn't there, let's create it.
That's sound advice. Sound advice. So, what advice would you give to young girls today?
Try as many different things as you possibly can, because even if you try something and you don't like it, and that's in terms of, topics or subjects, or I wish I had taken computer classes when I was in school. I didn't. um, I at that time felt I'm not smart enough for something like that. But if I had tried more things, I could have gone in another direction. I love the journey that I'm on, but who knows what the potential could have been. But try things, because even if you try something and you don't like it, what you've done, if you've disqualified that that's a path you want to go on.
Mhm.
I had a my daughter at one point was very interested in becoming a marine biologist, and she did a camp at SeaWorld. And there was a lot of things that she was exposed to. She learned so much and she loved it. But one thing she learned was what she thought marine biology was is not what it actually was. She didn't see it as getting her hands, quote unquote, dirty and working to heal some of the mammals or yeah, sea creatures or anything like that. She saw it at that time as a young girl as dolphin shows and things like this, and what her image of what something was didn't always match what the reality of it is. And you don't know until you try it, and don't just take someone else's opinion of it, but give it a shot. You might actually enjoy it, and if you don't, it's okay. Then at least you tried.
Right, right. It's I think one of the best advice we can give to these younger girls is to take a chance. Take a
Yes,
chance. Believe in yourself and take a chance.
believe in yourself.
Yep,
Yeah. Believe in
absolutely.
yourself. There's, it doesn't matter, where you come from. It doesn't matter, what you look like. It really doesn't.
Nope.
And if someone tells you it does, they're wrong. They're wrong. And so you're either not in the right place at the right time, try a different program that doesn't tell you that. Try a different project where they're not saying that. Or try the same project somewhere else that's not saying that. Get rid of those barriers.
Absolutely. And if your LinkedIn profile was limited to 3 words, what would they be?
Let's see. My LinkedIn profile was limited to 3 words: curious, advisor, dedicated.
Thank you for being with us today, Pam. We appreciate you being here on Her Incredible Mind.
Thank you so much. And I hope everyone out there that took the time to watch, thank you for that, but go and make your own journey.